If you're unhappy with the failing state of so much in the West, this is the channel for you. I find thinking about new ways to do things, from criminal justice to health, education, politics and cultural preservation, fascinating. So that is what I will be doing right here. Hello, I'm Michael Saxon and I'm the Policy Christian. I emphasize the because precious few people on the right side of the economic, political and social fiasco now enveloping the West are not going past complaining about the situation to develop policy, to develop ideas, plans, solutions for resurrecting the West. So this is my first introductory vlog for this channel. If you follow me, I will open up a whole new world for you as I take biblical principles and convert them into practical policy ideas, while also opening up opportunities for what I call the NGCES, the Next Generation Church Evangelism Strategy, which is designed for local evangelical churches. Christianity is an intensely practical faith, or it should be, and I believe the true church is the only institution capable of pulling the West out of the mess it is in, because it is the custodian, if they only knew it, of the principles that built the West. Unfortunately, that same church is wandering aimlessly around in a wilderness of its own making, outside the margins of social relevance, and has been doing so now for decades. Metaphorically speaking, it left the promised land way back in the 1970s. I should know, I was there. It recrossed the Jordan and headed off into the wilderness because it was too weak to face the times in which we are now living. But it is now time it came back in from the wilderness, recrossed the Jordan yet again, and faced the giants infesting the promised land. And more on those giants in later vlogs. Now, while writing my first book, Issachar's Call, a textbook on what is wrong in the West, I became acutely aware that Christians and non-Christians alike were going to struggle with my material because the majority are locked into what is known as Plato's cave. If you're interested or you like the Matrix movies, then think of it as Neo's Matrix. Now, the thing about Plato's cave is that those in it hate the idea of leaving. When someone like me comes along to point out the bright sunlight world outside, we're told to shove off. Those in the cave have been sold a fake set of worldview assumptions that most people typically cling to all their lives like limpets. If you become agitated as we go on and start reaching for the remote or the mouse, you are manifesting the classic pathology of a Platonic cave dweller. The light has not reached you, and every fiber of your being resists anything contrary to all the lies you have so easily swallowed during the course of your lifetime. I'm going to start with this whole idea of Plato's cave in mind with 9 diagnostic statements. Now, if you accept most of them are true or likely to be true, you are probably not in the cave. But if you get agitated or upset, incredulous, pulling you out of the cave is going to be very difficult. So here we go. If you think our current Western health system, based as it is on medications for existing conditions, is the right way to deliver health services, despite the fact that 75% of us are now dying of preventable diseases that hardly anyone caught 70 years ago, you're in Plato's cave. If you believe governments are inherently good and have your best interests at heart, you're in Plato's cave. If you think our banking system with central banks and money issued as an interest-bearing debt is the only way we can do money and investment in the economy, you really are in Plato's cave. If you think graduated income taxes going to big governments are essential to support vital government programs, especially if they are claimed to help the poor, you are really deep into the cave. If you think the Bible and God are just silly myths and are opposed to science, you've become stuck to the rocks in the cave. If you think government deficit spending, with ever-mounting debt being piled up on the backs of the younger generations, isn't a giant Ponzi scheme, you are too scared to leave Plato's cave. If you think it's okay for a few thousand super wealthy individuals and their corporations to gather most of the world's wealth to themselves at your expense, you've been in Plato's cave for so long you've forgotten how to walk. If you think everything that has happened in the West over the last 50 years was just the product of happenstance, political decision-making, randomness, economic cycles, and arbitrary karma, not planned design, you are plumbing the depths of Plato's cave. If you think the World Economic Forum has got our back and climate change is a world-ending crisis caused by too much carbon, even after you are told the world has been greening up by 20% and crop yields has gone up by over 15% over the last 20 years as CO2 has risen above 400 parts per million, which, by the way, in historic terms is extremely low, you need to engage your brain and do your best to escape Plato's cave. Now, I could go on, but I think you get my drift. How do you feel? If you think I'm an idiot, take some deep breaths. You need to ungum your brain and decide to watch future videos on this channel. Join those who mostly agree with me as I take you on a journey to expose the evil forces jamming so many into the cave while they take everything for themselves. So hit the usual buttons to do that. We will explore ideas based on Christian principles to restore our Western civilization while at the same time rebuilding the Christian faith, which gave us the values and principles we used to create the most advanced civilization known to man. As we go on, you will be introduced to key practical steps we have to take to resurrect our civilization. In the next set of videos, I will be talking about the problem, understanding our times, the 5 core Christian worldview principles, the 12 reforms, prophetic re-engagement, fascist liberalism, and feudal corporatism, they're the 2 giants, love your neighbour, and the Great Command. Put it all together and you will discover I am taking 2 parallel and constantly intersecting paths, the social and economic policy path for resurrecting the West and the church public policy path designed to create more opportunities for evangelism to rebuild the Western church. We will be looking at social and economic policy that rebuilds both Western civilization and the church at the same time, and that is what I call the next generation church evangelism strategy. And if you're a Christian and you're in the cave, you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about right now. I would encourage the Christophobic among you to stay with it. Stay with us, hit the buttons. If you need convincing, I suggest you go to my Substack site, Last Post Bugle, where I cover much of the material that will come up in the next 4 to 5 videos, stripped of its Christian content that you may be mistakenly rejecting. The link will should appear on the screen below. If you want out of Plato's cave, you have to be looking for the bright sunlight outside, and you will find it on this channel. In my next video, I will be explaining the analytic journey I took while writing 2 books and developing the website to arrive at the next generation church evangelism strategy and the 12 reforms needed to revive the West. The 2 books should come up as NGC, the Next Generation Church, a church resolved to grow expansively and spark the restoration of Western civilization. And the other book, my first book, the textbook if you like, is Issachar's Call. Now I'm 70 years old and I've been around. 10 years in the Territorial Infantry, 22 years a police officer, the product of a broken home, 2 marriages, 36 years a Christian after miraculous conversion, 18 years running my own businesses, done a lot of travel and completed 2 degrees, including an advanced degree earned with distinction in leadership, public policy and management. The ideas I will be unfolding for both the church and for social policy generally will seem revolutionary, but know this, I never let myself slip into Plato's cave. See you next time.